Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Akwaba, thank you very much. So I'd like to welcome you, all of you, to this Enable Youth Side event titled Mobilizing Africa's Agripreneurs, Unleashing the Next Generation of Agricultural Innovators. My name is Edson PC. I'm the coordinator of the Enable Youth program at the bank, and I'm very honored today to be moderating this session. Now, before I begin, I'd like to say that agriculture has never been this cool. It's no longer about the hoe and the hand, but the youth are now using drones and digital platforms to do their agriculture. Some of the youth agripreneurs are so innovative, they can harvest tomatoes with one hand, while on the other hand, they're tweeting their business plan on Twitter. Now, this meeting really takes place at the right time under the broad theme of the 2025 annual meetings, which is making Africa's capital work better for Africa's development. And what better capital to invest than in our youth? They are not only Africa's largest asset, but its boldest innovators. And they're already building agribusinesses that feed nations and fuel economies. Today's session is about sharing bold ideas and experiences, from cutting-edge research and financing models to grassroots entrepreneurship that's transforming communities. And if you thought agriculture was slow and boring, stick around. You'll get to change your mind at the end of this. We shall hear from visionaries, practitioners here, and of course, our own very young agripreneurs who have taken the leap and built a thriving business right here in Côte d'Ivoire. So sit back and stay engaged. This session has several segments. We're going to start with a short video of about 4 minutes that shall set the scene and give you a flavor of what the Enable Youth is all about. Then we shall have a keynote address from our Vice President, and also a short presentation by one of the agripreneurs who's here with us. And after that, we'll have a panel discussion and then some closing remarks. And we'll try to keep it in time because we're already running a bit late. So now I'd like to ask the presenters to put the video up, the short video. Thank you.
A generation ready to lead, and a sector big enough to carry them forward. Agriculture already employs more Africans than any other sector. What if we stopped seeing it as survival and started building it as a business opportunity?
Welcome to the gala where agriculture is served the whole night.
That's why the African Development Bank launched the Enable Youth Program, a vehicle for young Africans to become Agripreneurs.
Je suis très ravie d'avoir rencontré d'autres jeunes du continent. Ça montre à quel point le continent est en réelle effervescence du point de vue d'entrepreneuriat agricole.
Investive est une entreprise ivoirienne dont la vision est de contribuer à bâtir le futur de l'agriculture africaine en misant sur les moyens de haute précision et la technologie. Ensuite, on parle de diagnostic phytosanitaire qui permet de faire le suivi une fois que l'exploitation est lancée. Après, on parle de pulvérisation qui permet de traiter.
I've been a farmer for the last 2 years. I used to keep freshened cows and transitioned from production of milk to value addition. Enable Youth has helped me perfect my business and the science in my business.
We are in value addition value chain, whereby we have our on-farm value addition factory which dries all vegetables and fruits. Before the Enable Youth program, we were doing 50 metric tons, and now we are doing 100 metric tons. Also, we increased the number of farmers that we are engaging with 4,000.
With the training, we have now been able to innovate, actually increase efficiency within our production cycles, and now we are able to meet get high demand clients at fish fingerlings.
From poultry farms in Sudan to fish ponds in Nigeria, from digital tools to clean food processing, Enable Youth is helping young people grow thriving businesses. How does it work? It's built on 3 pillars. 1. Policy. Youth-friendly laws and institutions. 2. Incubation. Practical agronomic and business training. Real-world internships. 3. Finance. Blended finance, guarantees and digital access. This isn't just national, it's continental. From Kenya to DRC, Madagascar to Cameroon, Enable Youth is building ecosystems. Now it's time to scale. Enable Youth 2.0 is here with bold ambitions. Empowerment through enabling policies, deeper incubation and digital skills, easier access to finance and markets. Africa's youth aren't waiting. They are building, pitching, scaling, and the Enable Youth program works with them. The future is already here.
I hope you have you've got a sense of what the Enable Youth is doing in the bank. And at this moment, we want to welcome the Vice President, Dr. Beth Danford, to come and give a keynote address. Dr. Danford, please give her an applause. Just to introduce her. Dr. Beth Danford is the bank's Vice President for Agriculture, Human and Social Development. She's responsible for the bank's strategy, lending, and other activities in agriculture, water and sanitation, human capital, education, and health sectors. Quite a broad portfolio. She covers the bank-wide work on employment, civil society, and gender, and all the youth initiatives such as Enable Youth, the Jobs for Youth in Africa strategy, under her leadership. Dr. Danford, please welcome. Let's give her an applause.
So, good morning, and I'm really excited to welcome you to this year's annual general meetings of the African Development Bank. And I think it's really appropriate that we start off in the first morning really focusing on Africa's youth. We all know that we need the energy, innovation, and entrepreneurial drive that youth have to take Africa forward. We all need this. I for one, am really excited to learn how to harvest tomatoes, tweet, and have a drone monitoring the rest of my progress at the same time. Anyway, this is the type of ingenuity and forward-looking that we know we need. Africa is the youngest region in the world with over 60% of the population under the age of 25. And by 2030, 1 out of every 2 new entrants in the global labor force will come from sub-Saharan Africa. And this democratic surge demands action. We must create 15 million jobs every year. That's a daunting task. But the good news is that agriculture holds the key. And as we all know in this room, agriculture is not just about crops and livestock. It's about food systems. It's about value chains, processing, logistics, agri-tech. It's the backbone of our economies, employing 60% of the workforce and contributing 23% to Africa's GDP. But most importantly, agriculture offers the largest scale and quickest wins for youth employment. So that's why the African Development Bank launched the Enable Youth program in 2016. We knew that if we could support young people to become agripreneurs, they would build businesses that not only feed Africa, but employ millions of people. So to date, Enable Youth has mobilized $670 million across 18 countries, directly benefiting more than 100,000 youth. So that's creating an estimated 240,000 direct and also indirect jobs. And the program delivers support across the entire business value chain, from training and mentorship to incubation, and importantly, access to finance. So now the African Development Bank is looking at Enable Youth 2.0, which is scaling even further. So we're embracing blended finance to de-risk youth investments, using digital platforms to connect agripreneurs to inputs, markets, and services. And we are integrating climate-smart technologies so that youth-led agribusinesses can be resilient and sustainable. So this evolution, it's front and center in the bank's 10-year strategy that takes us through 2033, places youth at the center of Africa's economic transformation, and the strategy recognizes that empowering youth and women, it's not just a social imperative, it's an economic game changer. So we're prioritizing employment, private sector development, inclusive growth through value-added agriculture. So we also understand the challenges. Only 5% of youth-led enterprises have access to formal credit, and training often doesn't match the real needs that are out there. Climate shocks continue to hit farmers hard and in unpredictable ways, and that's why we're focusing on 4 key areas. First is innovative financing, blending grants, loans, guarantees to unlock capital where it's needed most. Second, capacity building, upskilling youth with modern agribusiness and digital tools. Third, market linkages, forging public-private partnerships to scale viable enterprises. And fourth, climate resilience, integrating climate-smart practices into everything we do. Youth are central to the bank's special agro-industrial processing zones, where infrastructure, finance, processing facilities converge to create thousands of real jobs. And we're also pioneering youth entrepreneurship investment banks, purpose-built institutions that are designed to finance and grow youth-led enterprises at scale. It's financing dedicated to youth and the issues that youth have. So we're not starting from scratch, we're building on success. The annual Africa Youth Agripreneur Forum and the AgriPitch competition have already trained and financed over 120 startups. Some of Africa's most dynamic agribusinesses today are led by young people who came through Enable Youth. But to unleash this generation, we need all hands on deck. All of you here, all of you not in the room, we need to come together to make this happen. Governments must deploy youth-friendly agricultural policies. Private sector must invest and, importantly, mentor today's youth. And development partners must align their support and scale what works. So the African Development Bank is committed to mobilizing additional resources for African agricultural entrepreneurship for youth, and we will not relent until every young African sees agriculture not as a struggle, but as an important business opportunity. So let's transform agriculture into this dynamic, modern opportunity, and let us make agripreneurs bankable. Let us make the youth the architects of Africa's food system. Together, we're going to grow more than crops and livestock. We will grow hope, jobs, and a better future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Danford. Please, another round of applause. We appreciate your leadership in this, wide portfolio of agriculture, youth, jobs, skills, so thank you very much. At this moment, we're going to hear from what we have come here for, a youth agripreneur who's based in Côte d'Ivoire, Mr. Amani Francois Xavier Kofi. He started becoming an agripreneur while he was still at university. When he finished, he got a job in an international organization, but he left that to start his business, Etoduma Charles. So without much ado, I'd like to request Francois Xavier, please welcome to give your presentation.
Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs. Merci encore à la BAD de me donner l'opportunité aujourd'hui de pouvoir présenter mon entreprise Etoduma SARL. Je suis vraiment très enchanté d'être aujourd'hui parmi vous. Je suis Kofi Amani François Xavier, donc ingénieur agri-business diplômé de l'Institut national polytechnique Félix Houphouët-Boigny. je suis ingénieur agri-business et j'ai démarré cette entreprise. Et j'ai démarré cette entreprise lorsque j'étais encore en deuxième année de cycle ingénieur à l'INPHB. Depuis 2018 jusqu'à ce jour, nous avons eu en fait la chance d'être lauréats de plusieurs concours et qui nous ont permis aujourd'hui d'être au niveau où nous sommes. En 2021, nous avons été lauréats du prix Alassane Ouattara 2020 et qui nous a permis d'avoir 5 millions de francs CFA, qui a été comme un fonds d'amorçage pour notre entreprise. En 2021 également, USAID, qui est un fonds américain, nous a fait confiance en nous confiant 46 millions de francs CFA comme subvention. Et en 2023, lors du prestigieux concours Agripitch organisé par la BAD, dont j'ai été lauréat en bénéficiant de 15 millions de francs CFA comme subvention. Alors, Eto Duma est né en juillet 2018 dans l'informel et nous avons formalisé l'entreprise en janvier 2020. Nous avons commencé notre première production avec un capital de 60 000 francs CFA, mais qui aujourd'hui, nous cumulons 115 millions d'investissements. Pourquoi est-ce que nous avons créé Eto Duma SARL? En fait, la banane plantain est la troisième culture vivrière la plus consommée en Côte d'Ivoire et autour de 2 500 000 tonnes produites par an. Mais malheureusement, selon la FAO, pour des problèmes de transformation et des problèmes de conservation, pratiquement 35% est perdu. Donc ce sont donc des milliers de tonnes qui sont ainsi jetées. Et nous avons donc vu qu'on pouvait transformer cette énorme perte soit en chips ou soit en farine. Et après une étude, nous avons vu que 90% des chips dans les rayons étaient des chips importés, la plupart au détriment des chips made in Côte d'Ivoire. Tout simplement parce que les chips faites en Côte d'Ivoire étaient soit produites dans de mauvaises conditions, avec un packaging inadapté, soit des délais de conservation très réduits, et aussi il y avait quand même une absence criarde d'industrie dans le secteur. Et c'est donc pour pouvoir résoudre ce problème que nous avons créé la marque Mon Chips en 2020, donc en vous offrant des produits locaux à base de bananes plantain et de patates douces, produits dans des conditions hygiéniques avec un coût accessible et aussi avec tout un système de distribution à l'instar de grandes marques internationales. Donc, en plus de la Côte d'Ivoire, aujourd'hui, nous vendons nos chips au Sénégal, au Burkina Faso, en Guinée-Conakry et en France. Donc, pour un chiffre d'affaires en 2019 de pratiquement 5 millions, Eto Duma aujourd'hui est en croissance avec en 2024 plus de 60 millions de chiffre d'affaires et nous prévoyons en 2027 pouvoir atteindre les 160 millions de chiffre d'affaires. Alors, nous avons commencé notre première production, comme je l'ai dit, avec 60 000 francs, précisément le 20 juillet 2018, lorsque j'étais encore en deuxième année de cycle ingénieur, donc avec vraiment des moyens de bord très, très rudimentaires. Et suite à cela, c'était vraiment dans l'informel, donc avec des dames et des jeunes, avec tout un manuel. Et nous avons pu progresser à l'aide des différents prix et des concours dont nous avons été quand même lauréats. Donc en passant de la phase beaucoup plus manuelle à une phase un peu plus industrielle. Donc avec une évolution un peu plus industrielle. Donc notre évolution s'est faite, bien vrai, au niveau du packaging, avec quand même beaucoup plus d'attractivité, mais aussi sur la qualité et aussi sur la conservation de nos produits. Donc, comme je l'ai dit, j'ai démarré lorsque j'étais encore en deuxième année de cycle ingénieur et je vendais mes chips lorsqu'on était en pause à l'école. Et c'est là, en fait, que j'ai reçu mon premier cours d'entrepreneuriat. Un jour, il y a un étudiant qui a toqué à ma porte et il m'a dit qu'il voulait en fait des chips. Et je lui ai dit que j'étais en rupture de stock. Il m'a carrément injurié en me disant que lorsqu'on veut devenir un homme d'affaires, il faut apprendre à communiquer avec le consommateur s'il y a en fait des ruptures de stock. Et c'est là que j'ai vu que l'entrepreneuriat n'était vraiment pas une chose aisée. Donc, en 2023, avec en fait les demandes qui devenaient de plus en plus croissantes, il était en fait nécessaire pour nous de pouvoir investir dans tout ce qui était comme machine et local, pour pouvoir quand même subvenir aux demandes. Donc, nous avons donc commencé à installer des machines au niveau des trancheuses beaucoup plus adaptées et des ensacheuses automatiques qui permettaient de moins manipuler que le produit et d'avoir quand même des chips qui respectaient quand même les normes au niveau international. Okay. Donc en 2023, nous avons pu pour pouvoir installer toutes ces choses-là et nous avons mis en œuvre notre projet. Aujourd'hui, nous sommes aujourd'hui à ce niveau, comme on peut le dire, grâce à plusieurs concours, plusieurs lauréats dont nous avons bénéficié, notamment le concours Agripreneurs, dont j'ai été le lauréat en 2023, et donc dont j'ai bénéficié de 15 millions de francs CFA de subventions. Avant, on livrait nos chips avec soit des taxis ou soit des véhicules en fait, de location, qui étaient très pénibles. Donc aujourd'hui, avec la base et le concours Agripreneurs, nous avons un véhicule et qui nous permet de livrer nos chiffres très aisément. Notre programme aussi était de pouvoir produire des chips à moindre coût, donc de pouvoir les vendre avec un format 100 francs CFA. Donc grâce à la base, nous avons pu avoir des emballages faits localement ici à Abidjan et qui nous ont permis de lancer notre projet. Et comme tout projet, il faut aussi communiquer. Donc la BAD aussi nous a aussi octroyé les financements nécessaires durant ce concours et qui nous ont permis de pouvoir faire connaître nos produits à la population ivoirienne. Donc aujourd'hui, c'est carrément 40 000 sachets vendus par mois, 26 emplois créés, dont 20 femmes, et aujourd'hui 150 points de vente en Côte d'Ivoire et avec une présence dans 4 pays de la sous-région. Et Toduma envisage être une entreprise leader dans le domaine des chips, aussi bien en Côte d'Ivoire que dans toute l'Afrique. Il se fait que nous sommes en train d'investir fortement dans tout ce qui est notre ligne et comme système de production. Nous avons aujourd'hui acquis notre propre terrain au niveau de Saint-Grobo, à 82 km de Yamsoukro. Donc nous sommes en train quand même de bâtir notre unité de production qui va quand même nous permettre de pouvoir produire des milliers de sachets et les écouler sur le continent africain. Donc, à l'horizon 2030, nous comptons pouvoir créer pratiquement 200 emplois directs et aussi être capable aussi d'ouvrir des succursales et pourquoi pas commencer à entrer en bourse. Et Toduma a beaucoup reçu de la part de certains partenaires techniques et des institutions tels que le gouvernement ivoirien et la BAD. Donc, nous voulons aussi redonner à la communauté, donc en finançant tout ce qui est comme culture de l'excellence. Donc, nous sommes beaucoup partenaires parfois ici c'était à l'Institut des aveugles, donc pour récompenser les meilleurs. Et aussi au niveau de la formation, nous sommes aussi quand même soucieux de la bonne utilisation des pesticides. Donc, nous formons aussi les coopératives sur la bonne utilisation des pesticides et la bonne gouvernance des coopératives. Donc, mesdames et messieurs, si vous cherchez un projet à fort impact social et avec des retombées économiques, nous vous demandons d'être partenaire de mon CHIS. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much, Kofi. I'm sure that you can appreciate the type of energy, innovation that he has put in from when he was still at university, and he's growing every day, and you can see his projections to 2030. Very ambitious, and I'm sure that in the next 5 years, he'll employ some of us. So, so at this moment, I'd like to ask the panelists, please, to come up. All of you can come up in the interest of time and find your seat. Our panelists, we have Dr. Martin Fregene, the Director of Agriculture and Agro-Industry. Please come up. Then we have next Mr. Frank Nyabundege, the Managing Director of Tanzania Agricultural Development Bank. We have Diana Gishaga. Diana Gishaga, who's the Managing Director of Private Equity Support. And then we have Dr. Eluafi, who is the Managing Director, Executive Managing Director of the CGIAR system. Okay. Good morning once again. So we're going to continue now with the panel discussion. So we have really 5 distinguished, panelists who are cover the whole broad, broad sector of the agricultural entrepreneurship. We have, we'll start, in the interest of time, I think we'll ask each one of them one question, but a comprehensive question, so that they can respond to, so that we can have a bit of time to have a Q&A. So at this moment, I'd like to start with Dr. Martin Fregene, who's the Director of Agriculture and Agro-Industry at the bank. And actually, Enable Youth falls under the leadership of Dr. Fregene. So, Dr. Martin, welcome to this discussion. The question that we'd like to pose to you today is, how does the Enable Youth, type of program align to the relatively new bank's 10-year strategy? And what catalytic role can the bank play together with partners in raising resources required to support this type of activities, in the Enable Youth and the enterprises such as those of Mr. Kofi? Go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Edson, and good morning, everybody. I want to begin by, first of all, congratulating Kofi for an excellent presentation and an even more excellent business. Well done. And I also want to give honor to whom honor is due. I know the former vice chair of the AU, Dr. Monique Zanzambangawa, is with us here. Welcome, Monique. Good to see you. Yeah. So going back to your question, Enable Youth, as the name implies, is meant to kind of help young people who are unemployed to acquire the know-how, very, very important, the skills and the financial resources to be able to make a success in the field of agribusiness. This is very much aligned to the 10-year strategy, which essentially is, is trying to catalyze investment and also know-how into Africa's agribusiness sector. I have to say that Africa is probably the youngest. It has the youngest population. 60% of people under 25 of people under 25 in Africa, sorry about that. 60% of people in Africa are under 25. And by the end of the decade, half of Africa's population, half of the population of people coming into the labor market will be Africans. That tells something that if you really want to, employ people, you must take advantage of the biggest sector. Agriculture, we all know, is the biggest sector. It accounts for 23% on average of GDP on the continent. That is why I think what we're doing today, to enable youth and agriculture, fits very well into the 10-year strategy, which actually is trying to help Africa, develop its capacities, both human and natural resources. Youth and agriculture are cornerstones of the 10-year strategy. That's why the bank, in the last 10 years, has invested $670 million in the Enable Youth Camp program. And going forward, we will be investing even more. Like you heard, Enable Youth 2.0. But before I go into Enable Youth 2.0 and what we're going to be doing newly, I just want to give you an example. Just like you heard about Kofi, I want to give you an example of another young African, Aja Fall from Senegal. Aja Fall came up with this brilliant idea of actually setting up a container tea agribusiness. She wanted to actually produce and sell tea. But then she didn't have a shop and she didn't have money. But at the same time, she felt that the internet, and most young people are very savvy when it comes to the internet. She felt that the internet is the best place actually for her to find market for her tea. Fortunately, she heard about the Agri-Pitch. This is a boot camp set up by the Enable Youth program that actually trains young people, helps them develop business plans, and also provides them finance for the ones with very good business plans. She was fortunate; she won $25,000 from the Agri-Pitch competition. With that, she was able to hire more people. With that, she was also able to begin a digital platform to actually sell her tea. And today, she actually has a very large, workforce. Ajafal, has become a successful agribusiness person. She employs a lot of young people. She has given a lot of young people work, So going back very quickly to Enable Youth 2.0, what are we trying to do? First of all, we're trying to scale the successes of Enable Youth 1.0, and we're doing it in 3 ways. First and foremost, we're trying to mobilize finance. You heard already from Bibi Beth, you've heard from Edson. We're creating de-risking instruments to actually leverage private and commercial bank capital, release more of that for young people, provide them the risk coverage that they require. We're also setting up platforms, innovative platforms, digital platforms. Young people like digital, and we're using those digitals like the DFAS platform that they were setting up to actually reach young people and help them, find the finances and find the markets that they need for their business. Also, we are, doing a lot with respect to partnerships. Working with governments, working with private sector, working also development partners to scale, because there are millions of young people. Just like you saw Kofi this morning, they are behind Kofi in Cote d'Ivoire alone. There are probably more than 2 or 3 million young Kofis also looking for opportunities. We need to be able to work with others, the private sector especially, to scale. And then lastly, I just have to say that innovations like AgriPitch that was able to discover people like Aja, and maybe many other young people, we need more of such innovations to be able to ensure that Enable You 2.0 will indeed reach the millions, and not the thousands, but the millions of young Africans who are actually looking for work to do. In closing, I just want to say that Edson has done a fantastic job. And Edson, I want to really commend you, not because you're moderating this event, but I want to really commend you for, for being very innovative and also being very passionate about what you're doing. And I believe that as the bank rolls out the next phase, we are going to use digital finance, digital platforms, and stronger public-private collaborations to actually help young people to become the next billionaires from agriculture. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fregene, for really sharing what the bank is planning to do going forward for youth entrepreneurs. Now, I'd like to ask Mr. Kofi to please come in. What I'd like you to do is really, over here in this room and in this conference, you have all the development financial institutions like the bank, you have governments or the ministers of finance from Africa, from outside Africa, you have private sector. What can these institutions better do to support youth like yourself starting businesses?
OK. Merci encore en fait pour l'opportunité que vous me donnez de partager sur mon parcours entrepreneurial. Lancer une entreprise en tant que jeune en Afrique n'est pas chose aisée. C'est tous les jours en fait, vous allez relever des défis et qui mettent quand même à l'épreuve notre résilience et notre créativité. C'est vrai que j'ai eu quand même la chance de remporter plusieurs prix, mais après j'ai eu aussi besoin de financement pour combler tout ce qui est besoin en fonds de roulement. Mais le premier défi auquel j'ai fait face a été le manque de compétences locales dans la conception de machines industrielles. Parce que j'avais fait le choix de supporter en fait l'industrie locale en commandant mes machines localement. Mais j'ai eu quand même plusieurs fois où les délais n'étaient pas respectés et parfois les machines ne respectaient pas en fait les normes qu'il fallait. Donc j'ai dû me résoudre à importer certaines machines très importantes et délicates et à faire fabriquer ici en fait des machines très basiques telles que les différentes goûteuses et les tables. Et ensuite, le deuxième en fait, défi auquel j'ai fait face a été quand même l'accès limité au financement structuré en fait, bancaire. Bien vrai que j'ai pu démontrer la viabilité de mon projet, les conditions d'accès au financement restaient quand même beaucoup difficiles pour les jeunes comme nous qui n'avions pas de garantie solide. Donc, j'ai pu, avec en fait tous mes efforts possibles, avoir ne serait-ce que, je crois, 2 millions de francs CFA avec une microfinance qui m'a donné avec un taux d'intérêt très élevé et dont en fait j'ai remboursé avec une pression très énorme. Donc aujourd'hui, ma recommandation envers la BAD et les institutions qui sont ici, c'est d'abord de pouvoir soutenir le développement d'une ingénierie industrielle locale performante. Parce qu'il faut au moins se former et puis financer les différents techniciens afin qu'ils puissent en fait pouvoir créer des machines adaptées à nos conditions ici. donc soit en interagissant entre ingénieurs africains et puis experts internationaux, parce que l'entrepreneuriat est en vol aujourd'hui sur le continent, et surtout l'industrie. Donc, les jeunes doivent avoir confiance en nos machines et puis quand même leur éviter certaines erreurs qui peuvent être très coûteuses. Et la seconde, en fait, recommandation, c'est de pouvoir créer des fonds spécifiques aux agripreneurs. Donc, avec des mécanismes souples, surtout pour avoir les BFR et même peut-être pour des avances sur contrat ou bien même des prêts sans des taux en fait, classiques. Et enfin, c'est de pouvoir aussi soutenir les champions nationaux jusqu'à ce qu'ils deviennent matures, soient capables de s'exporter sur le continent, même de pouvoir entrer en bourse et être capable au fait, de compétir les nouvelles marques internationales. Donc, les jeunes agripreneurs aujourd'hui sont capables de pouvoir bâtir une agro-industrie compétente, mais il faut lever ces différents freins techniques, financiers et humains qui ralentissent leur progression. Donc nous pensons qu'avec des actions beaucoup plus cohérentes et des politiques plus adaptées, nous pouvons transformer notre agriculture en un moteur d'emploi et aussi en une souveraineté économique et alimentaire pour le continent. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much, Kofi, for sharing those ideas with us. And please take advantage of all the people who are here during this conference to educate us, to learn more how we can support you better. Now I'd like to go to Ms. Diana Geshaga. Diana Geshaga is the founder and managing partner of Private Equity Support based in Kenya, but she works with SMEs across 26 different countries. Private Equity Support is an SME advisory firm that actively champions sustainable growth by catalyzing investment and enterprise development. The bank has worked with Private Equity Support for the past 3 years to implement the Agri-Pitch competition. So she has worked with many of these agripreneurs that, like Kofi and others, who you saw on the video as well. So Diana, coming from private sector, especially the SME side, what we'd like to know is what do you see as the most critical role the private sector must play in supporting the growth of young agribusinesses? And in particular, not only financial, but also mentorship, technical assistance, so that they can come from startup to be able to scale up. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. And yes, it's been a pleasure working with the bank over the last 3 years, and specifically through the Agri-Pitch competition. We have had an opportunity to meet amazing entrepreneurs such as Kofi and the lady in Senegal that he had also mentioned. I think the key thing that the private sector can do is 3 things. The first is access to market. And when people think about access to market, they automatically think about access to export markets. But what we are actually thinking about is access to local markets. What do we mean? For someone like him who's doing ships, he's using a locally available product to be able to do value addition and create something that is leveraging on an available product that was otherwise going to waste. And what an organization like a bigger private sector player can do is actually think about investing in someone like him, in ships. How do you invest in it? It's basically a way for you to be able to do business on a limited, maybe a smaller scale to start with, as a division maybe in your company as a private sector. If it's not providing him with private equity, why not give him an opportunity to white label for your products? Because he, as he said, he is investing in the quality, he's investing in the supply chains, working with the farmers. So private sector can actually work with people such as him, have a division or a section where they say it's new and upcoming brands, take off from them, do your white label, see if it works, and if it does, there's an opportunity for you to scale up without having put a lot of effort into the R&D, because we have capable people such as Mr. Coffee here already doing that. When we think about what else the private sector can do, is actually looking at bringing on this youth-led entrepreneurs or enterprises within their ecosystem, because he is in the value addition. There are those in logistics, there are those who are actually doing production on ground, there are those who are doing packaging, there are those who are doing cold chains. And the value of what these businesses bring is that they're closer to the market. So as large organizations, sometimes you struggle, or it might be cost ineffective for you to be able to set up some of this infrastructure closer to the markets. These youth entrepreneurs are actually there. They exist. Why not leverage on programs like the Agripitch to identify who is in this area that I can leverage on, provide a bit of support on, and what they do is they come in within my ecosystem. And as I'm growing, they're growing with me and able to provide valuable services that I, as an organization, do not need to actually invest in. I can actually leverage someone else's company, such as what Coffee is doing for Monships. Access to finance, you've heard what Coffee has said. It is expensive, especially for youth who are actually starting up. So how can the private sector actually help? The private sector through various financial institutions beyond banks. You've heard what he said. His initial funding was from a microfinance institution. So they took the risk, but then the cost of capital was also extremely high. And what does that do? It reduces the margins that they are able to work with. I know a lot of people keep asking, why is it that when they receive funding, they have to keep looking for more and more grants? Think about the capital he's receiving. It's almost twice, or even in some cases 3 times what a normal business would get. What is really left for him to reinvest in his business, to scale what is a growing business? It's very little. So what we need to do is say, if we are going to come in work with the private sector, again, he had said, is it possible to set aside funds in terms of like a blended financial approach where we go beyond the banks, right? Go to the SACCOs or the savings and credits cooperatives, go to the microfinance institutions, go to the digital lenders and say, hey, we know your cost of funding is X, but if you're able to work with some of this youth, pick the right businesses, are we able to lower that rate? You know, work with every financial institution at their level and appetite for risk. I think the last thing that I want to actually highlight is the private sector should leverage on programs like the Enable Youth and the Agripitch as a source for them to do their research and development. We have met so many innovative businesses in Agripitch. In the last session that we had in 2022, we had over 745 applicants. We were only able to select 25. That's less than 5% of the people who applied. Yet it's not to say that these businesses were not good. They were brilliant. But the only difference was a 0.2, 0.01 for even some. And we are saying that, is it possible to scale Agripitch, be able to do so much more, and then handhold them? When we first started working with Agripitch, we only used to work with the entrepreneurs for a period of about a month. In the second iteration, thanks to Edson and team, we're able to provide support for over a year. But as you can see, he is still asking, I need that hand-holding. As my business is growing, remember, I started this as a youth. Some of the social networks, some of the access to information, market, and the people I need are not yet there. They're not yet able to open the door for me. So our challenge would be, can we have an Agripitch competition that takes on more businesses, that is able to handhold these entrepreneurs for a longer time, because we believe that the impact will be there, and we will have so many businesses such as Monships who are successful because of the Enable Youth program, and would love to be a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Diana, for sharing such practical experience. You can see that she has gone through this, she has worked with these youth, so she's actually coming from a space where she has actually done it, and she knows what needs to be done further. Now, I'd like to move on to Mr. Frank Nyabundege. Frank Nyabundege is the Managing Director of the Tanzania Agricultural Development Bank. This is a bank that has the mandate to support agri-SMEs, and in particular youth-led, SMEs. The African Development Bank has been instrumental in supporting the TADB, and we'd like to hear from you really how practical examples, because I think you're already in the sector, you're already working with supporting SMEs in the agriculture sector, and also in particular if you can talk a bit about the BPT program. This is a program in Tanzania that the bank is supporting, that is focusing on youth. That's the building a better tomorrow. So, Mr. Nyabundege, please.
Thank you so much, Edson. As you introduced me, my name is Frank Nyabundege. I'm the Managing Director of Tanzania Agricultural Development Bank. which is a specialized bank in financing in agriculture in Tanzania. When the presenters were speaking, mostly were talking about the issues of policies, etc., etc. To me, let me turn the issue of policy and say the issue of political will. When you want to finance agriculture everywhere, we should have political will. Why am I saying that? Because you may have seen that in Tanzania there has been a shift since the sixth phase government came into power under the leadership of Her Excellency Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan. When she came into the power, she really changed everything in agricultural financing, starting from the budgetary support, where she found the budget for agricultural sector, which was around $107 million, and she increased that to almost $140 million the last financial year. So you see the way she has really done in agriculture. And what she did, one, you said about the BBT, and probably a good story that I have to speak more on BBT, and probably other, I know the policymakers here, they really need to see how they can even able to learn from what has been done in Tanzania and probably replicate it into their countries. So when she came into power, she said, we understand that the issue of unemployment has not only been a challenge in Tanzania, but it has been a challenge globe-wise. So we need to come up with a solution. Why should we look into unemployment? Because we looked into many sectors, and then we found that in Tanzania, agriculture, not only in Tanzania, but across especially Africa, agriculture employs more than 67% of the workforce. So she said, if we work out something that is related to agriculture, we can be able to solve the issue of unemployment in Tanzania. And we came up with what we call Building Better Tomorrow, BBT. So the BBT initiative that we came up with is to ensure that we support the youth with young people who are for getting in employment, and probably looking into the way of the unemployment rate in Tanzania. I think we looked into it, and then we worked out on the BBT initiative. We found that if we work out the way our president has been really giving us directives, we can be able to create 1.5 million jobs up to 2030. So we started the initiative by putting up around 5 programs. These programs was that when we dissected, we found out the challenge of youth. Why are they not getting into agriculture? There are many. So we wanted to come up with solutions which can be able to bring in the youth into agriculture. The first one was access to land, because many youth didn't have access to land. So because of probably the age you've just come, if you have not inherited, you are not expected to have land. So we came up with the land initiative that we started what we call block farming. As a government, it created some land which was bought with the initiative from the government, and then this land is given to the youth between 5 acres to 10 acres, depending on the kind of the crops that they are getting or they're engaged into. And that has really worked very well, whereby these youth are given land between 5 to 10 acres. And then the second thing that we were lacking for the youth was on capital. So that's where TADB came in. That's these people, they don't have capital. The reason why they don't have capital, and Kofi said well, one, when you go to the normal banks, especially the commercial banks, they'll tell you, we need your experience. You've just graduated from the university or the college. They want you to have 3 years track record as an experience. Where is this young man going to get an experience? So we have to come up with a solution for the youth-led structure of facilities which can be able to support them. So the financing aspect is that to come up with a structure that can be able to support the youth in Tanzania. And we did like in 2 ways. Why we call it direct lending, where TADB can be able to lend, but in terms of de-risking, we called up commercial banks. We have around 19 banks right now that we are working with in Tanzania. Then we give them funds, as wholesale lending, which are going to be able to be lent to youth, but also we give them guarantees to decrease. For the youth, we give them up to the level of 70% to ensure that they can be able now, the issue of security that has been a challenge to be resolved. So we did that, and we have really been able to bring in 19 banks, and we've seen the small order credit guarantee scheme, which is youth-based guarantee scheme, has really been able to grow for the last 4 years from the capital base of $50 million to $158.4 million as of now. So you can see it has gone from more than 3.3 times of what was given as a capital. And this has really attracted a lot of youth and has put a lot of banks now to be able to give loans to youth in the country. And in total right now, it's around 658,000 youth that have benefited from this guarantee scheme, which TADB has been able to do. And with that, even right now, we're working out with the AFDB, as you pointed out. AFDB have been really good partners for TADB. When we started this bank last 10 years ago, TADB gave us $85 million as a capital. Last year, they gave us $66 million as well. So we've been really working with the TADB, the AFDB, and right now there's a transaction of around $35 million that we are working with the TADB, with the government of the United Republic of Tanzania, to ensure that it goes to guarantees to the risk-on people. So another thing that we did is the incubation center, because these young people, when they come from the school, sometimes they need to get some trainings and to understand the nose, find where can they be able to get the market. Diana spoke about the markets. When you're coming from the schools, when you talk about market, you think of export. What about the market that you can be able to create within the country? And another thing that we also did was to come up with the issue of value addition, because we find out that in Tanzania, between 30 to 45% of what is being produced from the farm to the table get lost somewhere here. So, and the reason is because there is no value addition. So we came up with the means of putting up agro-processing. And in these big farms, what we do is that we try to find out the big clients who can put up a factory. So the youth, when they do the farming, then they have an off-taker. And this off-taker will ensure the market to them. So that's what we've been doing. But the last but not the least is that agriculture needs water. So what we did as a project into this program of Building Better Tomorrow is to ensure that we come up with the irrigation systems. And we've been digging wells in different places in these big farms so that they are assured of having irrigation, which they can be able now to farm 360 days in the year, instead of just expecting rain-fed kind of facility. So that's what probably we've done in Tanzania, and as I said, it's a political will of the president, which she has been doing. Last but not the least, on the BBT, it's on agriculture, which is a crop, but we also went to which we call it BBT Life. On the BBT Life, this is livestock and the fisheries. So the BBT Life, which we've been doing on the livestock and fisheries, we've really been able to bring in young people who are ready to go and do fattening, and who are ready to go and do the dairy, and we've really been supporting them. The government has set through TADB funds, which we are giving these youth on 0 interest rate, so that they can be able to get into this. And we've really seen quite a number of young people. Because of time, I cannot be able to give all these figures, but we've really pulled a lot of young people there. Again, also, we've gone into cage fishing and the fiber boats, and it has really attracted a lot of people. So what we're saying is, finalize, that as policymakers are here, different governments, let's have a political will to support youth. These youth cannot be able to go into entrepreneurship in agriculture if they are not supported with the governments where they're coming from. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. you very much, Mr. Frank, for that, and really pointing out the importance of political will. And Tanzania has demonstrated this. For those of you who don't know, this BBT project, the bank is investing about $130 million, but the government of Tanzania has invested much more than that. So you have put, demonstrated the political will, which is very important. Sorry about rushing you, but let's go to the last panelist, Dr. Ismaha Elwafi, who is the Executive Managing Director of the CGIAR. That's the Consultative Group for International Agricultural Research. This really is the premier agricultural research institution globally. And apart from that, she has been a chief scientist at the FAO and quite a number of other achievements that she has had. Now, Dr. Elwafi, what I'd like to ask, here we know that the CGIAR really has been at the forefront of agricultural research and innovation, including the Asian Green Revolution. That came out of the CGIAR system. What we'd like to hear now is specific examples, how the CGIAR's work is translating into real opportunities for young people. What innovations do you have there that can be taken up by young people and scaled up? Thank you.
Thank you very much, and really a pleasure to be with you here. I'm happy with really what I heard from the panelists because they have covered the subject so well. So I couldn't agree more that what we need, it's definitely a combination, it's a bundle of solutions. It's not a silver bullet, but I think really what I'm hearing from the colleagues and the example from Kofi from Ivory Coast is that really what we need is political will. We need access to finance, and we need access to knowledge and technologies, and that's really what CGR is about. So if we look at the continent, we have a huge issue with malnutrition, and we have a huge issue with unemployment for youth. But we have so many of those young people that every nation has invested so much in terms of education, in terms of health, in terms of bringing them to that age where they need hope, they need solutions. And for me, really, the number that resonates with me is that we are in about $100 billion in terms of import of food to that continent. Could we use that $100 billion to create more jobs for youth? Because we have the combination, we have the element that could create that, which is youth. They need solution, they need jobs. We have most of the produce in the continent, but those produce are going straight to the export market, and they are completely disregarding the local market. So for me, really, the CGR is your partner of choice in terms of access to knowledge and technology. And I have few examples that I would like to share that are within Enable TAT. So we were very lucky to be one of the delivery partners of the African Development Bank. So we have examples of, for example, aquaculture, a youth-led fish cage production in Ghana that worked very well. It was novel. It has engaged so many young people to produce fish in an aquaculture in the youth-led fish. So they needed only the technology and little money. We're not talking about a lot of money, a little money to start. We have a lot of digital decision-making tools that can reduce the price for the farmers when they have real-time knowledge about their crop, how to manage it, or their livestock, or their fish, but also would give them access to the market to a better price. But in the nutshell, for me, really, I want to go back to you need many partners in this. And the political will is the most important, Frank. I fully agree with you. But then once you have that political will, you need to put the policies in place, the regulation in place to really help young people like Kofi or like the young woman that you mentioned in Senegal. And we shouldn't be happy with one or two. We should be aiming for millions of them. I like very much in the video, we said 600 million young people right now. In a few years, they're gonna double. So that bill of $100 billion of imports gonna get to 1 trillion in few years. And I like very much, I was talking to your colleague, Mohammed Azizi, and he told me that SMEs create 100 times more jobs than any other bigger scale. So we should definitely create the right combination And technology is there. Right now, we have a huge yield gap between Africa and the rest of the world. So we are producing about 10% of our potential in any crop, in coffee, in wheat, in livestock, in milk, in all of them. So if we want to bridge that gap, it's going to help us in terms of malnutrition, but also it could create a huge job for the youth, and we need to make sure we have the policies. If we're still importing salads for Carrefours across Africa from France, shame on us. How could we do that? We can produce it here and provide it to our supermarkets. So definitely, and that's where policies and regulation could make a huge difference. Access to technology, bringing hope to youth through the right finance and the right policies and regulation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. El-Wafi. And with that, for reminding us and being such a good partner with the bank, we hope we can build even stronger partnership with the CGIAR. Now, before we leave, I'd like to ask Dr. Damien to come and give the closing remarks for this session, and to thank the partners, the panelists, and the congregation. Just to mention, Damien is the manager for the agribusiness division, which is responsible for the Enable Youth program.
Thank you, Edson. Thank you, the panelists, the vice president, our director generals. I think it has been an enriching discussion that has brought up so many ideas and concepts with respect to youth employment. Your insights and contributions throughout the meeting have been very wonderful and novel. What we have witnessed is not just a conversation, but a call to action. And beyond the government policy, I think the enabling environment is also very, very important. Because sometimes youths start producing something, and then the tax office of governments are just at their neck, trying to take off the little resources they're having. So the enabling environment is also very, very important. What we have heard is that the youths are the real capital we need in Africa. So the theme of the workshop is about the youth, because that's the greatest capital we have, for which, if we exploit it very, very well, we are going to transform the continent. We must go beyond funding and then build a system. Such a system should deploy catalytic finance to de-risk youth-led agribusiness and crowding private sector investment, equipping young entrepreneurs with the skills and tools to scale climate-resilient, technology-enabled enterprises, and connecting them to markets, mentors, and policy frameworks that foster long-term sustainability. To our partners who are here, including governments, the private sector, and development institutions, the time to act is now. We have heard all the things we need to do from the panelists and from the young entrepreneur. So all we need is to congregate our ideas and then start by identifying who we can support to make the Enable Youth program a huge success. And to the youths, Kofi being representing them, your ambition, your creativity, your resilience are exactly what the continent needs. The bank is committed to standing with you, investing in you, and building a future where you lead Africa's development from the ground in the next century. Congratulations, and thank you for participating in this program. Thank you.